Trio Cash Cups just got cancelled for Fortnitemares, but then Fortnitemares also just got delayed. I want to talk about what this means for tournaments, and I want to go through all of the leaks that have just come out for Fortnitemares because we have the entire trailer, and this is looking like one of the best Fortnitemares updates of all time. I also want to recap what's going on with the Duo Cash Cups. We almost saw Peterbot, Cold, and Booger already splitting up for Veno. There was a whole bunch of drama. I want to talk about everything that's going on with all the pros because there's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. So what is going on with the Trio Cash Cups? They got moved back by a day, and the time also got moved. Round 1 is starting like 6 hours earlier than the normal start time. It's pretty much starting at like the middle of the day because already it was starting so late, now starting so early. It's all a gigantic mess, but that doesn't even matter anymore because the reason why it got delayed by a day was for the massive Fortnitemares update, which also just got delayed by a day. Now, we don't really know what's going to happen to the Trio Cash Cups now because obviously the entire reason they were moved was for the Fortnitemares update, which is now again happening at the exact same time as the Trio Cash Cup. So the reason why the Trio Cash Cup time was moved all over the place is because to fit it in originally, they had to move it onto the same day as now the Squad Victory Reload Cup and the Duo Reload Cup. So we now have 3 tournaments on the same day, and apparently there's going to be a Fortnitemares update as well. So at this point, I'm not really sure what Epic is going to do. I'm kind of expecting them just to cancel the Trio Cash Cups altogether for this week, or at least maybe push them back again. There's not really any time to move them unless they're going to move them later on in the season. We only have like 3 weeks until the new season, and there's already a Trio Cash Cup on the last week of the season. In good news for competitive, Epic did also just add a Duo Cash Cup out of nowhere. They just randomly added a Duo Cash Cup to the last week of the season, which is awesome. We have even more tournaments, but again, it gives them even less time to now move this Trio Cash Cup. So not really sure what's going to happen with that. Maybe I'll comment down below on what they've actually done with it, because as of right now, they haven't said anything because them moving this Fortnitemares update is a huge deal. I don't know the last time Epic had to delay an update like this. It just didn't work. We don't know why, we don't know what happened, but it means we now have a bunch of leaks of what is supposed to be in the Fortnitemares update that isn't playable right now. Fortnite haven't officially released this themselves. It's coming from leakers, so if you don't want spoilers, skip this, but this is the actual Fortnitemares trailer and it looks insane.
Locked in, unlimited power, I will prevail, I will devour.
All right, there is a lot to break down, but let's kick off with the big one that probably got most of your attention, the new chainsaw weapon. This looks so cool. I'm not a huge fan of melee weapons. I never really have been, but this one looks insanely fun. Not only do you have the actual attack animation of it, it's also usable for mobility. You can kind of like slam it into the ground, rev it up, and it pulls you along. This looks super sick. It doesn't look like it's a mythic either. There's a whole bunch of people running around with them, so I'm guessing they're going to be somewhat easy to find, or at least there isn't just one of them, which will make it so much more fun. We do have the Witch's Broom returning. It's one of my favorite items. It's been reskinned a whole bunch of times. It's the same as the Silver Surfboard. It's the same as the Nimbus Cloud from the Goku update. It is very, very cool item, and we've had it a whole bunch of times, but every time we get it back, I love it. It's just awesome having good mobility in the game. I don't think it's super overpowered. It's nice and balanced, and it's really, really fun. We do have our new mythic also being revealed. We have the Jigsaw tricycle from Saw, and it looks like you can make it fly. You send at your opponents, and then it just explodes on them. I don't know how much damage this is going to do. I don't know how much damage it's going to do to structures, but that looks absolutely ridiculous as well. We also have the pumpkin launcher, a classic of the Fortnitemares. We didn't see it in the trailer, but we have it in the image. We have the the wood stake shotgun coming back. Don't exactly remember what this is called. I've never really cared that much about it, but we have a whole bunch of new weapons and some old weapons coming back, and this looks like the highest effort Fortnitemares we've seen in such a long time, and that includes map changes. In this trailer, I can already see 3 entirely new spots, or at least spots that have been heavily changed with the Fortnitemares update. It looks like restored reels, it looks like Rebel's Roost, and then also the entire new POI that's this gigantic pumpkin with the vines you can ride around on. I believe that is going to be overtaking Brawler's Battleground, so I don't know how many new locations we have, but it looks like existing ones are going to be very, very heavily changed. I have no idea how much or if any of this is going to make it into competitive. They haven't said anything yet. There is no FNCS going on until obviously next season or potentially the season after, so it really is only cash cups, so I wouldn't even be that mad if a lot of this stuff went into competitive. I know the map changes definitely will, but I hope some of these items make it in. It could be really, really fun to have, you know, some crazy cash cups to close out the season. All the pros and people can blow off some steam before we go into OG and then back into an FNCS season. I know a lot of people are really enjoying the low mobility, straightforward meta right now, and I am enjoying it as well. So if they don't put this stuff in comp, I'm not going to be sad, but I feel like it would be cool to get some craziness in competitive just for a few weeks of cash cups. It could be really, really good for the content. Speaking of cash cups, we had an insane performance from none other than Peterbot alongside Cold in the duo cash cup finals on NA. They dropped over 500 points. They finished in first place on 507 points, playing 6 matches, winning 3 of them, and getting 80 eliminations in the finals. 80 eliminations in the finals in 6 matches is absolutely ridiculous, and they did this while still averaging a 2nd place. They dropped an 18 and 19 kill win in the finals. It was absurd. You look at Rabbit and Bolts' placement, they had an 11th, 7th, 5th, 1st, 5th, and 4th, which in itself is a ridiculously good match history, and they still lost by almost 200 points. Cold and Peterbot are looking almost unstoppable right now. That's 3 cash cups they've played. That's a 1st, a 2nd, where they only lost by a few points, and then also a 1st again. They are playing extremely well, and obviously duos is no longer the main game mode. We are going to trios, but for a duo that is, you know, duoed up for trios, this still does mean a lot for how well they're looking to perform coming into trios. Now, obviously, there's been a little drama with Cold and Peterbot's trio. I'll talk about that in a second, but it was a really, really good cash cup. We had Ages and Ritual. We had Reed and Epic Whale running it back up together again, the NA West duo, who looks like they are going to be playing trios again. Muzz and Kanata came in 5th. They've been doing really, really well together. It doesn't look that like they are going to be trioing Kanata. I don't really know what his plan is right now. It does look like at this point it's going to be Muzz, Rise, and Clix as the confirmed trio. I'll talk about Clix's duo performance in a little bit. It was a pretty interesting tournament. If you watched Clix's stream, you know what I'm talking about. I got to give a shout out for Malibuka and Panzer coming in 6th place as an EU duo on NA. We have a lot of the EU pros showing up, performing very, very well on NA, and a 6th place is insane. Clix and Rise ended up finishing in 20th overall on 100 points. If you watched Clix or Rise's streams, you probably saw how when it was a little bit of a weird one. They died to bugs, they died to cheaters. It was just all around a pretty rough cash cup. Honestly, I'm surprised that Clix and Rise kept the vibes as good as they did at the end. They kind of ended with just getting to the point where they were so fed up with it, they couldn't help but laugh and just troll and mess around and have fun, which was really nice to see. But you've probably seen some clips going around of Clix being pretty tilted on the timeline, you know, flaming different pros. There was a bunch of drama with Veno. Not really going to go into that. You guys know me, I don't really like to do the drama. I only talk about it if it affects competitive Fortnite. It looks like Clix and Veno are probably never gonna play together again, is the main outcome of that one. But Clix and Rise did keep the vibes up considering, and they didn't have the best performance, but it does look like they are gonna still be playing together as a trio alongside Muzz coming into trios, which will be interesting to see how that goes with the trio cash cups if they run this week. The other little bit of drama that you've probably definitely seen on the timeline, I'm sorry I'm so late talking about it, what happened with Peterbot, Cold, and Booga? Did they actually split up? Did you get clickbaited? I'm not really sure what you saw. There was a lot going around, but we did see Peterbot, Veno, and Booga split up. Sorry, Peterbot, Booga, and Cold split up very, very temporarily for Veno. We saw Booga get dropped for Veno. It lasted for all of about half an hour. Apparently, it was hours of debating in Discord. It all came about apparently because Kinch Analytics, if you guys don't know, he's an absolute GOAT. You can check your stats from any single tournament to see how well you did. Apparently, it got leaked that Booga didn't do a lot of damage in the most recent Trio Cash Cup, which is to be expected. He got picked up because he's going to be the Tarper and support player, but that led Peterbot to start considering maybe there's better options out there. Somehow Venno came into the mix. He was going to move back to NA from EU and compete alongside Peterbot and Cold for Chapter 6 as their Tarper. A lot of people freaking out, super excited. This didn't work. Apparently then Booga got back involved. Things got really toxic. There was a bunch of debating going on, and now it is Peterbot, Booga, and Cold yet again. Now, a lot of DMs leaked from this one, and people keep asking my opinion on this. Oh, Booga said he was going to grief them, and that's why they're playing with them again. Doesn't that mean their vibes are going to be terrible? If you haven't seen a lot of competitive Fortnite, you haven't seen how a lot of these teams go, it might seem crazy to get dropped and then come back with, hey man, if you don't pick me back up, I'm just going to ruin your entire year and keep griefing you. That might sound insane, but whether you like it or not, that's actually pretty normal for Fortnite pros. We've seen this happen before. Players get dropped or players split, so they end up just contesting the team that dropped them. In duos, usually when teams split up, it's a lot less drama because there's just two people. You get dropped, they pick someone up, you pick up another player, everyone moves on. In trios, there's always a little bit more involved in it because now you're left as a solo and they pick up a player. Now you've got to find a duo or you've got to create your own trio. It's why we see so many more snakenings in trios. But it looks like we have formed back together again. It will be Peter, Booga, and Cold queuing up for the Cash Cups this week. Now, I don't know how they're going to go. Obviously, I think their vibes will be a little bit affected, but we'll see. Honestly, we've seen Fortnite pros say worse things, go back together as a team, and then win FNCS. So at this point, I don't even know, but in case you thought you got clickbaited, it was real. It just didn't end up happening the way we all thought, and they are back together yet again. I will say for the 5th time now, I think at this point on YouTube, almost every single one of these trios is going to split up before FNCS. I am so sure of that. We have an entire OG season before we get to FNCS. There is no chance even 99% of these teams are still together for trios. So things are going to get spicy right now because since a lot of people aren't locking in their trios, when these snakenings happen, they don't really go any further. They just kind of split up their trio, they find a new pro, and they just play the Cash Cups. Once we have FNCS coming around, everyone's locked in and people are really scared, trying to make sure they get the best team possible. That is when things are going to get very spicy and very interesting. Right now, whenever this happens, it doesn't really affect anyone because they either go back together or that person just goes and plays with some friends and nothing changes. So keep an eye out though. We will have some very, very crazy snakening videos, maybe next season, but definitely Chapter 6 Season 1 because it's already getting spicy and we don't even have an FNCS. I did want to give a shout out to Vico and Wolvax for winning the EU Duo Cash Cup. Vico obviously already winning this season alongside Flixie, his FNCS winning duo, but now winning it with Wolvax, which surprised a lot of people with a very, very strong performance. They had an over 60-point lead on second, which was Swizzy and Vanya, another FNCS winning duo, so not an easy team to take out. I did want to give a shout out to Oatly as well, the Goatly himself, setting a world record points in opens on OCE, 529 points, playing 7 matches and winning 5 of them, and their 2 games they didn't win were a second place. They had first, second, first, second, first. Truly a GOAT performance out of Oatly.